Hey guys, what's going on? Sincere here with Anon Radio Live and the All Rights Matter show. I appreciate you guys having a little bit of patience with me tonight while we were trying to work out these technical difficulties. We have an excellent show for you tonight. We have Brandon Curtis back with us, and as you know, he's our point of contact on the ground officially for everything that's been going on at the Oregon Refuge. So we want to, just thank him again for coming on and for keeping us updated with the facts that are actually on the ground and the dealings within the community that were, the mainstream media. Those trucks don't want to talk to those people because then the truth comes out. So that's what Brandon comes on our show for. So we thank him for that. Brandon, are you there?
I'm here.
Okay. How are you doing tonight?
I'm doing good, brother. How you doing?
Good. I am doing excellent. Thank you for being patient as well while we worked out those minor technical difficulties. But we have a lot to go over tonight. There's been, many breaking developments since we spoke yesterday afternoon live on air, directly after we got off of, off of the interview yesterday. I want to address this first because this is one of the biggest things that's out there right now, and everyone's talking about it, everyone that's in the know. So I want to take a second to address a clip that's going around the internet. I actually posted it up as well, and that's the talent release forms. While there was live streaming, the talent release forms actually went out, and I'm sorry, not actually went out, but some guy actually came into frame saying that there's, does anybody want to sign their talent release forms, or can I get you guys to sign the talent release forms? And one of the guys didn't know what was going on. He was asking him what it is. And then another guy, he was, pretty much like, he just hopped up and ran over and turned off the feed real quick. So, do you have any kind of opinion on that matter, going on up there? Because I know you told us that you don't know these guys that are up there, so and you haven't seen them before. So do you know, anything that's going on with that issue?
No, I don't know anything about that issue. We've been researching it. We've heard different stories, and like we talked about before, so I don't. The individuals are left up there at the refuge. I know none of them. I've never seen them before, and I have no idea who they are or where they've come from.
Wow. Well, I outside of this show, I'm going to be doing pretty much. I followed the whole situation while I was live, and I know you were trying to follow parts of it too as you guys were moving about. But I'm going to be following up with the talent release forums because it seems like nobody really knows the guys that are actually up there, and it's very funny. It's very odd, and I've went to the gentleman's page that's actually been live streaming this whole event. I did find his Facebook page. I went over his post, and it pretty much seems like nobody knows who this guy is, and like he hasn't had much interaction with the people at the refuge since he's been there. Just limited interaction, if you will, and that to me is I don't know. It seems a little bit significant in kind of figuring out what's going on, or why these certain people are actually left at the refuge. I have one question for you, Brandon. About how many people in total, when everyone was up there, about how many people were up at the refuge?
Um, you mean total that's come and gone, or at one time?
At one time, collectively, about how many people would have been there? Like, the most amount of people.
Probably about 100.
Wow. So, out of 100 people now, there's only just a handful literally left there.
Correct.
Oh man. All right. Hold on one second here. Getting a little bit of reading there that you sounded a little strange through the microphone, so I wanted to adjust you some. Now, I'm glad that you clarified the fact that you don't know these guys that are up there. The talent release forums is certainly something that that's buzzing on the internet. Folks are definitely talking about why these forums were brought in the camera, why the feed was stopped the way it was. So there's different versions of why out there, and like I said, I'll leave that up for the listeners out there to decide for themselves. But there's no way that any of us could really know the full truth to that, because we weren't, we're not there, and the feed unfortunately was cut. So I do want to focus in on something else. I want to focus in on last night. We were supposed to have you come on air last night, and like I said, these things have just been unfolding really fast. There's a gentleman I actually posted on my Facebook, Jason Patrick, and there's a lot going on with him. And he was, I believe, he was arrested last night. Am I correct?
Yeah, he was arrested last night.
Okay, now I believe, from what I understand, he wasn't supposed to be arrested last night. He was actually, the FBI was putting out statements to the national media and other sources saying pretty much that, if you guys want to leave the refuge freely, go ahead and leave the refuge. You're fine. And we'll let you go. And when this guy got ready to leave, that wasn't so. So can you tell us a little bit about what happened to Jason Patrick?
Yeah, absolutely. Jason Patrick has been up at the refuge since this thing started. He's also a friend of ours. And he was set to stay there till the very end, and at whatever cost. And then after we saw the situation with Lavoy unfold and him losing his life tragically at the hands of the FBI, we were talking to Jason and thought, hey, we need you out here as a patriot. Jason Patrick is a great patriot. He's very much in love with his country and for the cause, and we just told him that he'd be better out here for the movement than being a martyr up there at the refuge. And I understand those guys are standing up there for their convictions and their cause, and like I said before, I'm not going to condemn them for that, even though it's not something that I may have done or condone, but we just wanted the people that were up there to come out peacefully and no more bloodshed. So Jason agreed to do that, and I spoke with my contact at the FBI, and the FBI have been putting out publicly the last several days, if you're still at the refuge, you're free to leave. You are free to leave. We just want this to end peacefully. And if you're there now, you're free to leave and go home. And so I contacted my contact at the FBI, and knowing that Jason didn't have a vehicle, he would have to walk out a ways to the checkpoint because we were not going to be allowed in past the checkpoint. So I confirmed with my contact at the FBI that they were still free to leave and they could do so. He assured me that was the case. I explained to him what I was doing and that Jason was going to be leaving, and we would be at the checkpoint to intercept him and pick him up. I was assured that would be fine, and assured that I could do that, and I was also assured that Jason could leave freely. So Jason walked almost 7 miles in the dark, sub-freezing temperatures to the checkpoint. While we were waiting there, we had to stage. There's a roadblock that's about 300 yards north of the actual checkpoint, so you can't come up on the checkpoint with vehicles. So we were actually staged there at the roadblock, but we could see the lights at the checkpoint, and he should have been there by then. So I contacted the gentleman from the FBI I've been speaking with throughout the day, setting this up, and then asked him, if he was aware of any concerns or issues with Jason. He had not come out yet, and he should have been there. He advised me he's going to check on that, call me back, and when he did call me back, he in fact told me that Jason was taken into custody at the checkpoint.
Wow. And after walking 7 miles, now when he was actually walking, was he in contact with you guys? Through cell phone or anything like that?
Yes, he was, very much so. And as a matter of fact, at a couple points, he he even had mentioned, some FBI vehicles passed him, and they just left him be and they let him walk. So we're not quite sure why they made him walk the almost 7 miles to the checkpoint. When the FBI agent told me that they had taken him into custody, I told him that he was a bold-faced liar and that he had lied to me. And what he explained to me was, well, initially they were going to allow him to freely leave, and then once he did that, the U.S. District Attorney's Office had decided that he should be arrested for safety reasons or whatever. He talked to that effect. And I said, I don't care. You gave me your word as a federal police officer who is supposed to have integrity, and you lied to me, and that this is why the FBI is looked at the way they are. They don't have integrity, they don't act with integrity, and they bold-faced lie to people. They use my relationship with Jason to get him to leave that refuge and separate him from the rest of the people up there so they could take him into custody. That's exactly what they did.
Wow. You know what? It just shows how manipulative, not just the FBI. I was going to say actually the Federal Bureau of Investigations, but it's not just the Bureau. It's really the whole federal government. It just goes to show you how manipulative and shady they really are, and that's what it's all about for them. That's currency to the government, is power and control, and being able to control the situations and then showing you that dominant power is what they, if you will, get off on. And that just goes to show more of that. I mean, it could have been, just as easy as what they said, and what they promised for the people that were there. But, to be expected, actually, it ended up being something completely different. So, Jason Patrick, now he's sitting, obviously, he's been detained. What are his charges? I mean, does he have the same charges as the others that were detained earlier?
It's my understanding he was charged the same as the other individuals that were arrested, which tells me that the FBI had every intention on arresting him from the onset of our conversation, and I also want to make it clear that 3 people left the refuge yesterday on the offer the FBI gave them of leaving freely, and all 3 were arrested and taken into custody.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's just pretty much how this is going to pan out. It's either you're going to be arrested or you're going to, die at the refuge. And right now, and I mean, just before we got on air, I know I had shared something with you where they're supposedly, sending the convoy in there now, to the refuge. But you guys have people out there, and you haven't confirmed that yet, have you?
No, we have eyes at they did move the roadblock closer to the refuge, around the corner from the RV park that's up there, from where it was last night. I know they did that. There was, they had also staged and lined up several small armored vehicles, a lot of FBI vehicles, and then some came out. So there was speculation on the news that they had actually engaged the refuge and took it over. But that has not been confirmed. The road's still blocked, so I haven't seen anything come from any officials. I mean, they moved the roadblock. My belief is because the roadblock where it was before was inhibiting some businesses, some access to local businesses there, like the RV park and its residents. They weren't even able to come and go to town. The business owner was suffering from business loss because of the blockade they put up. Now, this blockade they had up to local residents even, they if you came up to the blockade wanting to come towards Burns from the other side of it, so if you're a rancher, you come up to the blockade, you had to put your hands up, exit the vehicle, they search your person, they search you, they search your vehicle, they make you walk with your hands up through the barricade 100 feet, and then they have to drive your vehicle through the barricade to the other side where they will give it back to you. Can you believe that?
Wow, I can tell you firsthand that I've worked, in my military experience, I've worked quite a lot of hours on checkpoints, and we did, the little mirror search under the car, checking for any kind of explosive devices under the car, and pull the people out and check the person in the vehicle. But never have I seen anybody have to walk 100 feet and then have their car driven to them. We haven't done that.
Yeah, that's that's a police state going into military style policing right here in Burns, Oregon, of all places, and that's what our FBI is doing. That's how they're treating the local ranchers that are up there. We have several citizen reports that have come to us, and they've said, they were taken down at gunpoint. They were going into their pasture to check on their cows like they do every day. And last night, this happened to some ranchers here that are local, and they were going into their own pastures to check their cattle, and they were met with force by the FBI, taken down at gunpoint, handcuffed, and questioned and interrogated, searched, and their vehicle searched just because they were feeding their cows.
Yeah, that's what we're looking at in America. And, instead we have a bunch of folks that are online. And, as I was watching the live feed, I mean, it was just the most, I understand a lot of that is trolling, but it's some of the most vile, disgusting comments that are out there. In a time where things are, kind of serious. Now, that's granted, the whole, talent release form thing that is still questionable. But the whole premise of this argument, the whole movement, the whole reason for this movement, for this protest, is based on one thing. It's based on the fact that the federal government has broken the law. And it's funny that we're so far removed from that basic principle of truth that it's literally sending division amongst every section in the nation. And you see, instead of seeing a united call, of unity for everybody to come together and say, hey, wait a second, this isn't right. This is absolutely not right. Why is the federal government taking the land? Why are they federalizing all of the land so that it can no longer be used? We covered that in yesterday's show, so we won't go too deep into that, but that's what's going on now. We're turning into a police state and we're losing our land. We've already had our currency devalued several times, and it's heading, towards being devalued even more. Not only is our currency devalued, but our lands have become, federal lands within the states. Pretty soon our very homes will not even be ours anymore. So I wonder if that'll wake America up. What do you think?
Man, I don't know, but we need to wake up. People need to understand what's taking place. If we're seeing this sort of aggressive action taken among the citizens of a rural farming and ranching community in Burns, Oregon, I mean, come on. I mean, these guys were just going to feed their cattle. That's what they do here. And if people don't see the writing on the wall and see what's taking place, they really need to wake up. And the only way it's going to stop is by the people saying no more. Yeah,
absolutely. And it starts with having a voice. It starts with doing your research. It starts with really looking into it and seeing what the laws of our land are, and even what the conflicting laws of our land are, i.e. the Constitution and the state's enabling acts.
Right.
I want to focus on something real quick. Was doing a little bit of reading. Actually, I have one more question for you. This is something we haven't talked about or anything, and feel free. I'm giving you kind of a softball question here, if you will, and you can navigate this how you would like, because I don't want to put you in a precarious position, but I do want to actually focus on this for about 2 seconds during this show. I was reading some documentation, the actual court documentation of for Ammon Bundy and Ryan and everybody, everyone that was within that convoy that was actually stopped, the 2 cars that were stopped when Lavoy was murdered by the police. And in that paperwork, Pete Santilli's name pops up a lot. And it pops up a lot for all of the live feeds that he was doing during, pretty much from day one. And a lot of the, complaints and, that were written in that document, they're directly out of his video. How do you feel about that? The internet, they're saying all kinds of stuff. Oh, Pete's a federal agent. Pete's working with the FBI. There's so much talk about it right now. I want to get your true feelings on it.
Well, two-part question. So the fact that they arrested him for his, and I have read the affidavits as well, the complaint affidavits, which I want to point out on those were wrote. The affidavits in support of probable cause for arrests for those individuals were written the day after the arrest.
Okay.
Which
is
interesting.
A common illegal practice.
Yeah, they said they were actually arrested on federal probable cause something, and then the next day the affidavits of probable cause come out. It's just unbelievable. But anyhow, the affidavit with Pete Santelli, yeah, I find it interesting. They're using all kinds of information out of his live stream and making inferences to what their interpretation of his live stream is, and they're going to use it against him. Now, people need to understand it's his First Amendment right just as much as it's mine to be on this radio show, and they're going to use that to put somebody into prison or try to, or at least arrest them and take them to jail and deprive them of their freedom because he exercised his First Amendment right. And I don't care if he was sitting in Burns, Oregon calling for more Patriots to come here, because that's what they're saying. He was trying to collaborate and do what he was doing to help bring in more people to the refuge. That's his right.
Yeah.
And I don't understand. And I actually never heard him say more Patriots to the refuge. He was calling for Patriots to come to Burns, Oregon in general. And Pete made a comment on December 27th calling all Patriots to come to Burns, Oregon, and he was referring to the rally we were holding on January 2nd. He was trying to gather more people to come to the rally on January 2nd. But they twisted that and used that against him to say that it was for illegal purposes. How does that even work?
Well, I think what we notice here, and a lot of what's going on, and I'm sure you follow some of this too, is reporters and journalists are being attacked. They're being attacked everywhere. Anybody that's exercising their rights, and we know free speech rights are also being attacked, but anybody that's exercising their rights to speak out, to actually say something, they're being attacked. I mean, and we're not talking about simple attacks. We're talking about life-altering attacks and possibly the end of life. And it's really sad what's happening. It really is. Now, me personally, I don't know Pete Santilli. I thank him because he actually covered some of my information once, and some of his information on YouTube is actually pretty damn good. But, like you said, it is quite interesting that they're using a lot of the information out of his live feed. And I'll leave that as an open air, kind of comment, is I find it highly interesting as well. But you're right. I mean, this is one of those situations where you don't know where to go with it. You don't know if it's true or not. And I think we have to be real careful at labeling people federal agents or working with the feds, because, there's a lot of truthers out here that are trying to literally, they're working with nothing. We don't get paid a lot to do this, so you build up your little bit of money, you get a little studio, you get some cameras, you go out there, you do the best job that you can. You hope that Google pays you some advertising money and that you get some donations, and you call it a day. So, if we slap the tag federal agent on, everybody that is suspected, and we just, slap that tag on them, it's like shooting ourselves in the foot over and over again. And that's another, dividing technique I see. And I see, our enemy being able to exploit that technique very easily.
Well, what's happening is, if you don't fit inside the little box of what they want you to say in the media, then, they're not going to, they're going to come after you. As long as you put the media out as they want in their narrative and buy into the narrative they're trying to sell you, they'll leave you alone. But if you go outside that box, then you're going to be attacked.
Yeah, that's definitely true. Now, look, I'm sure we actually have a couple more things to cover, but I want to ask you something. This is actually, I have some of our viewers sending some messages in right now, and they wanted to talk about the 18-year-old witness that was actually in the car. There's reports that they were armed. There's reports they weren't armed. Maybe that she saw them with their firearms in the car but didn't pull them. Do you know exactly what the status was as far as the individuals in the car with Ammon Bundy and Lavoy? Were they all armed or were they unarmed? And did anybody pull a firearm during that time period that you know of?
Yeah, so there was firearms in the vehicle. Some of the occupants were carrying a sidearm. There was no long rifles, and nobody pulled a firearm. Nobody pointed a firearm at law enforcement. Nobody was aggressive with a firearm or acted in aggression and charged or approached them whatsoever.
Yeah. Well, that's definitely good to know. And I believe in yesterday's interview, you were actually telling us that there's a possible 2 videos that will be able to, if the feds ever release them, that we'll be able to possibly see one day.
Yeah, and there was 2 videos, cell phone videos that were rolling during the entire incident. So it'll be interesting to see if they release that information.
Wow. Now, what I'd like to know is, maybe I can actually put this out for everybody. Is the folks that are left up there at the ranch? I'd like to get some kind of cohesiveness as far as figuring out how they are tied to people that were at the ranch, before, and what their roles, were at the ranch. And there's been so many, feeds. There's been Pete Santilli's and other feeds coming out of the ranch. That's why it's so interesting that they've pretty much primarily decided to use just Pete's, because there's been a few of them. But I'd like to know how these individuals that are left tie into the individuals that are there, and what their level of involvement was during the whole standoff. Did they come towards the end? Were they there maybe once a week, twice a week? Did they stay the whole time? And maybe you guys out there on the ground can help us figure some of that out.
Yeah, I mean, as far as the people are still in place up there, is that what you're saying?
Yeah, the people that are still in place up there, because there's a lot of confusion going on right now, and that's what I'm seeing, and I'm hearing that from a lot of the listeners too, because a lot of folks don't understand, the people that are left there, and a lot of folks aren't seeing the connections that those people have with any of the ranchers that were actually there before. And that was primarily one of the reasons why, we wanted to figure out about how many people maximum were up there at any given one time. And for it to be 100 and they're all gone, and it's dwindled down to 5 that, not really anybody, not too many people know, it seems like a massive die-off, of the amount of power and the amount of positioning that was actually initially at the refuge.
Yeah, I mean, the key players, once they got the key players, I know people rotated in and out. As far as the people that are still there, I don't know when they came. I don't know how long they were there total time, or if they were newer. Some of the names that the gentleman last name Fry, I think it was. I've never even heard of that guy or seen him before. So I'm not really sure when they came into the picture. And like I said, there were several people that rotated in and out. From what I understand, they went home, came back. So I don't really know.
Yeah, yeah. Um, that guy Fry, I did a little bit of research on him, and I'll just tell you what I came up with, and the listeners can take it as they will. Um, in looking at him, like I said before, he looks like he wasn't involved too much with what was going on, and it's just a very whenever you see interaction, social interaction through Facebook or whatever other platform it is, you'll notice the level of involvement of folks very easily. Now, looking at his Facebook and his YouTube is two kind of almost two different worlds. And when I looked through his YouTube, I seen that just a few hours before Lavoy was actually shot and killed, um, David actually had posted the video of Lavoy at the Paiute, actually the Paiute video of him speaking about, returning the artifacts. And that was Lavoy's last video before he, hours later before he was shot and killed. My question is actually, and I haven't put this out even on my YouTube yet. This is my first time saying it. My question is, who took that video? Was it actually David that took the last video of Lavoy? And from what it seems like to me, the video was uploaded to David's account where he did all the live streaming at, before he did all the live streaming. And the video was also uploaded to Lavoy's personal YouTube account as well. And I wonder who set up Lavoy Finicum's YouTube account. So these are all questions that actually came to mind for me, and I'm not really expecting you to answer them, but do you have any thoughts on that?
No, and I heard that. You talking about the YouTube video that was on Lavoy's page? The dark. There's no photo. There's no picture. It was just the audio.
No, no,
And
no. It's a YouTube. It's a full. It's daylight. It's just Lavoy. He's standing in front of, I believe, the Harney County Resource Center, and he's. It's just him by himself, and he's talking about the folks at the refuge, the artifacts that they had found that belonged to the Paiute, and that they were preserving them, and that they'd like to return them. And
right,
if they, would just pretty much answer the call so that they can return, the artifacts to the rightful owners. And that was pretty much his message. But that was the last message, and that was just hours before he was killed. And I found it quite interesting that that video actually went up on, David's profile, on David's YouTube. So to me, that would suggest that maybe he took the video from his phone and actually posted it up, onto his profile. And the video actually did have some editing on it as well at the end.
right. And there was also that video that, because I had the same question, but I had the same question when, right after the shooting of Lavoy, someone came on to posted a video on Lavoy's YouTube account and didn't show their face. It was a dark screen, and just kind of had said, hey, we need help. This is what happened. So, yeah, it raises questions who had control of that.
Oh, well, if you say that, I can pretty much tell you where that video came from. Where I think it came from. As he's not very proficient in YouTube, and anybody that was watching that live stream knows he did about 30 or 40 different live streams. Instead of just letting it stay live, he kept restarting it and restarting it. And all his initial live streams, because it was dark outside, were just audio. It was completely dark, and it was just audio. So if he started the live stream from the wrong account that he was logged into on his phone, then he would have accidentally posted that video to Lavoy's account.
Right, right.
So
very true.
That's very interesting that he would even have control of Lavoy's account, or even make, if he's the one that made that account for Lavoy. That's still a very it's an interesting point. Who is this guy that comes out of nowhere, that gets close to one of the leaders of the movement, has control of his YouTube account, is taking videos of him, and he's dead hours later. And then this guy is the main one at the refuge that's live streaming.
Right.
Big can of worms. Big can of worms.
Certainly convoluted, huh?
Yeah, very much so. And, it all still boils down to the same thing. The federal government is dead wrong for taking the land from the people. We can get caught up in all these details all day long, and that's what they want us to do. But guys and girls that are listening, don't forget, this is the reason why we're here. The Hammonds are in jail. The Hammonds do not belong in jail. They do not belong in jail, guys. If you're down with mandatory minimums for crimes that haven't endangered anyone and crimes that are not even really crimes, something's wrong with you. I'm just going to say that, something has to be wrong with you if you would want to support mandatory minimums for, nonviolent offenses and things that are questionable in nature as far as being an offense in the first place.
Right. People got to get back on track. We got to look at the reason here. It's about the Hammonds. The mandatory minimums with someone like the Hammonds, they aren't terrorists, but they were charged under the Terrorist Act for arson. It's just ridiculous.
Yeah, it absolutely is ridiculous. Now, is there anything else that you wanted to address? I know I've done a little bit of talking and said a lot, and there's, I'm still getting a lot of messages and comments of people wanting me to ask questions. But, is there anything that you would like to address? I know we're going to be talking a little bit more tomorrow as well, and we're going to try to set up a special show. We're not going to tell everybody what it is yet, but we're going to try to take this a little bit of a different route so people could get even more insight to what's really going on. But, without giving that away, is there anything else, that you'd like to talk about and maybe any announcements or anything that you would like to make?
Yeah, so we're actually going to put out a call to action. We're going to be releasing that here in the next hour or two. The community here in Burns and in Harney County has some serious concerns and grievances that have not been addressed here. They're tired of their voice not being heard. They after the shooting in with Lavoy, they're seeing how, even at a different level now, right here in their small community, how corrupt and backwards the government is right through their county. Their sheriff. If their sheriff would have taken charge early on, that wouldn't have happened. There wouldn't have been a murder of Lavoy right here in their county. So the community has reached out to us. They're still concerned. They're scared. They still need the backing and the voice, backing behind their voice. They need to be heard. They want to be heard. So we're putting out a call to action. We need help. We need people here in Burns, Oregon still. And we are not going to stop our mission. Even if the refuge, they come off that refuge tonight or tomorrow or the next day, that doesn't mean we just go home and say, okay, wish we would have tried harder next time. We have to finish our mission here and expose the corruption and get to the root of the problem. We have to, a man lost their life here protecting this county and fighting for what he believed in as a true patriot. And we just can't go home and say, okay, maybe next time. So we're putting out a call to action. We want people here. It's not a call to arms. This isn't a call for violence. This isn't a call for anything more than support for this community and a call to action. We want patriots, people, whoever, citizens to come to Burns, Oregon, and we need a lot of them here to support this community. We're not going to condemn the violent action taken by the Harney County Sheriff's Department and the FBI for the shooting death of Lavoy Finicum. We are condemning the violent action taken by Harney County Sheriff's Department along with the FBI in the execution of the arrests associated with the people at the refuge and the way they did it. We're also condemning the Sheriff's Department, the FBI, the dishonest tactics they used to arrest Jason Patrick. Their narrative seems to be that they lie to people to carry out whatever it is. They don't care. And we're also going to condemn, and we are condemning, the false statements they put out their last press release with the narrative they put out. We know that's not true. So we're going to call on any and all Americans to come to Burns, Oregon, to come to the aid of the American people that want to stand against the violent, malicious, and deceitful tactics here in Burns, Oregon. And it's going to start with backing this community to go tell the FBI to leave.
Absolutely.
And that's this first step.
Absolutely. Well, you guys heard it here first. Anon Radio Live and All Rights Matter show. They're asking for some help out there in Burns, Oregon. They're not asking for folks to go out there bringing arms or anything like that. They're not asking for violence. Please do not even consider that. But they're asking for the support in numbers, because the numbers and the show of presence and that show of solidarity is what actually starts to change the minds and hearts of people. Now, I have a very, I hear your call to action, and I feel that call to action, because I believe that this is an important time in our history where America does get a chance to stand up for herself. She really does, and if we do a good job, future situations like this can be prevented, and more states could have more power, more people could have more power. That's the desire, the hope, the goal. The end game for winning. But in this call to action, I have a lot of people that are asking questions, and the questions that they're asking in particular, and I'm going to be very particular here, is they want to know what's going on. I have one question here saying, well, why go, pretty much, where's PPN at? The Oath Keepers, question mark. So the people want to know, and this isn't the first question I've actually gotten about the Oath Keepers, or actually the Pacific Patriots Network. People want to know, all the folks from the refuge are gone. The folks from the perimeter have been blocked out. Pretty much, where is everybody? Where's the Patriots network at? The Pacific Patriots Network. Where are the Oath Keepers at? What are their roles still? Is there anybody still leading the charge from those organizations, or has that support fizzled away? What's your take on that?
They're still here, and what people need to understand is, we've been using our resources. We've been rotating people in and out, and they're all coming back for this all call. We need people here, and we're taking a lot of heat. People are asking, well, why haven't you stepped up more? Why didn't you prevent this? And what about PPN and Idaho 3%? And the death of Lavoy Finicum was on your watch. And you know what? I own that. The death of Lavoy Finicum was on our watch. Yes, it was. And has that greatly affected me? Absolutely. And it's very emotional. That's not something anyone should be proud of. But the reality is, we did not know they were on that road. They didn't communicate with us as they should have, when they were leaving, where they were going. And I know we've covered this, but I just need to make it clear. But I also want to add this. When the PPN and the Idaho 3% and the Oath Keepers were here, and we've been here for 27, 28 days, and when we've been putting out massive calls to action for other Patriots to come here and help us with our effort with the perimeter, where were you? Those that are saying that you could have done more. Well, you should have been here to help us do more. And the ones that are armchair quarterbacking, the ones that are pointing fingers and placing blames, are the ones that made no effort to get here. And we are still here in Burns, Oregon. We never left. Our PPN never left. 3% of Idaho never left. But come on, we only have limited resources too. We were doing the best we could with what we had. And, it's just a terrible situation. And let's not forget the fact that a man lost his life and how it went down. We believe the FBI purposely did it at that location, knowing they would be outside of our perimeter. That area where that happened was outside of our perimeter that we had set up. I believe it was strategic on their part to pull them away from any type of help coming, the rest of the refuge, the PPN, and our perimeter. But again, I want to get back to, I'm getting messages saying, well, I would make my way back into the refuge, and where were you? Why didn't you guys go back into the refuge? I want to explain that as soon as the shooting of Lavoy Finicum happened, they put those roadblocks in place. They put a 7-mile perimeter around that entire refuge. You couldn't get in there. This is very flat land. It's not like it's mountains and you can just sneak your way in.
When okay, and I, the 7 mile perimeter is a hell of a perimeter. I don't even, I know some very talented snipers, and they're not hitting it. Nobody in the world is hitting anything from 7 miles. So that's a very large perimeter, especially when you're considering a very small, area group of buildings. Now, with a perimeter that size, what has been the Idaho Three Percenters, the Pacific Patriots Network, Oath Keepers, what has been the primary role with those who are left over? Because I'm sure, I'm going to just use, just throw some numbers out there. If you guys had 60 men on the ground, I'm sure that after all of this has happened, especially with a 7 mile perimeter that you can do nothing with, I'm sure that the support has dissipated and, pretty much dwindled down to kind of bare bones, because now there's no functionality that's actually, happening from day to day, which would be, wasted resources. So what is the role of the men that are still, left there to support? Obviously, they can't support the folks up at the refuge. There's nothing that can be done for them. I know you guys stated you're supporting with the investigations as far as everything going on, and you guys are doing a tremendous job of that. And I know you're also still going into the homes of people there within the county and within specifically Burns. What is the role of the rest of the gentlemen? What are they what are they doing from day to day if they're not able to resume the normal functionality of their patrols?
Well, what we've done is we put them into a security role for some particular individuals here in the community that feel that they're in danger for whatever reason, whether speaking out or providing us information. We've also put them into roles of still monitoring the FBI and local law enforcement. We can't get to the refuge, but we still have a job to do down here in town and still create that buffer up to the roadblocks. And also, we've put some of those guys into research roles to start digging on information, not only now with the situation with the county officials, but now we have, Lavoy shooting that we need to dig into and look at. And that's the thing is, people are armchair quarterbacking. They say, well, we would have got into the refuge, we would have done this, or we would have done that. Those people have not been here. They don't see the lay of the land. They don't see how virtually impossible it is short of aircraft. And, the reality is we called for help when they were the FBI was ramping up their manpower. We called for help. To defend 200 federal agents, I needed 500 to 600 Patriots additional here on the ground to help. Where were they? We called for help so this wouldn't happen. And all those naysayers out there who are pointing the fingers at us, you should have gotten your vehicle and came here when we asked for help for the past 3 weeks, and it would have potentially stopped this problem. But they would rather sit there on their Facebook pages and condemn and point fingers, but I'm still sitting here in Burns, I'm not stopping the fight. And that's what people need to understand.
That's right. And I think, I appreciate that response, actually, and that's actually right. I think, folks also need to understand another thing. Because you can't get into the perimeter, or no one can get into the perimeter, like you said, just short of aircraft, that doesn't mean that that's the main battleground anyway. The main battleground was never the refuge. And that's the big secret of this. It was never the refuge. And that's what the United States government doesn't want most people to realize is the battleground is not the refuge. It's not that little small few square mile, space of land within Oregon. It is actually federal land that is being controlled all throughout the United States. That is the battleground. Lavoy and Ammon, before Lavoy was killed and before Ammon and Ryan and arrested, they were going and they were talking to other ranchers, and I believe that's why the feds brought a quick end to this because the unity and solidarity was starting to happen, and they were getting these other ranchers to actually sign forms. You're talking 7 or 8, I believe, Utah ranchers signed at one time saying that they're relinquishing anything that they have from the federal government. They're taking back their land. They're reclaiming their property, and they no longer need the subsidy that comes with having federalized the land. And
Right.
they realize that they've been tricked into being poor farmers now, to being modern day time sharecroppers. And with that kind of unity and solidarity, in my opinion, you know, that was the biggest threat. They realized that, the feds realized very quickly, oh, wait a second. These guys are not just using the refuge as, their standing point, as, their place to make a stand. They've moved outside of the refuge. They've started traveling to other ranchers, and now they're making their stand multi-state. And that's really where this was going. This is something that ranchers in Utah can get behind. In other areas that are out there, Nevada, especially Nevada, that's pretty much all federal land. It's like 90 something percent federal owned. There's a lot of ranchers out there that could really get behind what's going on because they're tired of it. They're tired of having their land taken away from them. The Indians can get behind it. They're tired, especially of having their land taken away from them. And this is a fight as true Americans that we can all have, as true humans that we can all have, is that no one form of government should own the land of the people.
Right. Exactly. And the government is doing this. They're taking the land, and the American people are losing their rights to land, the rights to talk about it, the rights to bring it up. It's just getting to a point where it's a sad state where America's at right now.
Yeah, yeah, it absolutely is. Now, I don't want to, key in on too many things that we're going to be talking about tomorrow, but I know that you're going to want to actually talk to some folks in the community there. And if you can you just tell us again a little bit about like the community support as far as, what are people saying? I mean, I know you've expressed to us that the people don't want the FBI there any longer because of how they're actually treating treating the ranchers that are just going to go feed their cattle. So what are what are the people saying? I mean, like I guess I'm looking for a pretty direct kind of thing, a direct kind of statement. What are they saying?
Well, as far as the local community here,
Yeah.
they're upset how they're being treated. They feel like their town's been militarized. They feel that they haven't been heard. None of their concerns have been heard. The more they talk, the more they're treated that way. They just feel like they're really being abused.
Yeah, yeah, definitely, definitely. And you know what? Actually, if you can hold on for me 1 second.
Sure.
Okay. Okay. Sorry about that. I was actually having some things come in. Wow. I think if I'm looking at this right, they just released the video just
Watching.
right now.
I'm watching it right now.
Okay, hold on 1 second then, okay? I'm going to put this on mute. Hold on. And for my listeners out there, we apologize for this. We'll edit out the silence later, but give us 1 second. This is live. This is happening right now. They just released the video of Lavoy Finicum's death, so give us 1 second to review it. Okay. Wow. Wow. Okay, Brandon. Go to minute marker 9:20 on the video.
Oh. Let me get there. I'm gonna have to do it on my phone here. So 9:20.
Yeah. About 9. Yeah, about 9:10, 9:15, right around there.
Okay. That's heavy right there.
You see it? Watch Lavoy exit the vehicle.
Yeah. Well, I'm on my phone watching it because we're on this call, but I'm okay.
Okay, guys. It is absolutely, and you're hearing it here first on Anon Radio Live. It is absolutely confirmed. Lavoy Finicum was shot with his hands in the air. His vehicle lost control. It looked like at a high rate of speed. He crashed into a snowbank. Actually, what we said on the show yesterday, that has been confirmed now. He did exit the vehicle with his hands up. That has been confirmed. It looks like he was being yelled orders from many different directions. He was putting his hands up. He looked, kind of confused and frantic. And as his hands were up, he was shot. There was one officer that was hit as the car went off of the road. He appeared to be okay. He does not appear to be any kind of life-threatening injuries. He kind of fell down into the snow. I'm not exactly sure if he was hit.
Can I interject there? The reason why they had that roadblock set up on a corner, and when he came around the corner, the roadblock was just there. So it was, when you saw him come around the corner, that's why he went off in the snowbank. So that was a very, very bad place for them to put a roadblock.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Unbelievable. His hands were up in the air. You do see where he kind of reached down. It looked like he pulled his shirt up, because when I was in law enforcement, I get commands. Do you have any weapons on you? Show us your waistband. But it never looked like he went. His hands were out to the side and above his head.
And I don't think that he was actually shot here. I don't think that he was actually shot by the person in front of him. I think he was shot by the person behind him.
Yeah, he came running up out of the brush and shot him.
Yeah, so yeah, that's exactly who shot him. The guy that came running out of the brush, and at the time, it looked like he either shot him in the back or in the side, because he was kind of turned to the side a little bit, but he was raising his hands in the air. I'm going to go over it one more time. Oh, yeah, absolutely. There's no way in the world that individual that shot him could have thought that Lavoy was raising any kind of weapon towards him or anything like that, because his hands weren't in any kind of threatening gesture. So that's an execution. That's a pure execution. Man, that's just terrible to see. That is awful.
Say the 9mm pocket.
Someone said they had a 9mm pocket. I said, who said that?
And it's here. I'm trying to watch the video pass because I want to see if they fired further rounds into the vehicle. And it's really unfortunate that they're using a drone for this footage because you're not getting any audio. And you're seeing which could be it looks like flash from gunfire. I can't tell, and I'm looking at it on my phone, Sherrod. It's a smaller picture, but are they firing into the truck?
I'm looking, and they're in a protected position behind the vehicle that's still on the road. So they're actually they're using their vehicles for the barricade between their buffer between the people that are still in the truck and themselves. The drone is going around, but then it hits the tree line. You can see they're issuing commands. Okay, hold on. Here you go. Okay, somebody gets out of the back seat first. Out of the back driver's seat first.
This is unbelievable.
They're all getting out of the. Somebody else got out of the same seat. It's really hard to see with the amount of tree line in the way. Yeah, they had no reason to shoot him. Besides fear. Okay, guys, we thank you for bearing with us as we look through that. I'll make sure that I include this video. Actually, I'll put it on a loop here within the show so you guys can be able to see it. So I'll have to, edit the show a little bit. But this will be in the YouTube version of the online show so that you will be able to see it. So stay tuned for that. But Lavoy Finicum was definitely shot in a peaceful position. He was not, he did not have a weapon on him, gesturing for a gun or anything like that. This was, he was purely executed. So,
I'm speechless. I'm speechless.
Yeah.
There was one spot there where it looked like he might have put his hand down, but I didn't see him reach for anything. And Sherrod, you were probably looking on a bigger screen than I was. I was on my phone. Did you see him reach for anything? Did it look like he was going around his waistline, or it looked like he put his hand down, like if he would have got shot the first time, like, covering his chest or something? I couldn't see from my phone.
By the way he was hoppy, the way he was jumpy, I guess you could say. Two things that come to mind for me, and probably for you too, with your background. When you get shot, you jump. That's one of the first things you do. Because it's a shock to the body, so you jump. So I'm not certain whether the guy in front of him shot him first now, because if you look at it, it looks like he jumps a couple times. But it looks like, in that time frame, he could be saying, I don't have anything. I don't have anything. Or, you know what I mean? And
right.
As the person that's coming from the wood line comes out in like an ambush kind of tactic, he's turning and looking at that person saying, I don't have anything. And that was probably his last thing that he said. And he was immediately shot.
Well, and if that was the left side, it looked like he grabbed his chest or he did something, and he's a right-handed shooter, so he wouldn't be reaching for anything with his left hand to begin with.
Yeah.
Unbelievable, absolutely unbelievable.
Yeah, it is absolutely unbelievable. And I mean, the terrible thing is everybody that's exiting the vehicle is exiting from the back passenger seat behind the driver's seat, and they're walking around the vehicle. Now, Lavoy Finicum's body is laying probably about, I want to say, 30 to 40 feet away from the vehicle. They all have to get out of the back door to walk by his body to surrender to the federal authorities. And I mean, this is disgusting. It really is.
Yeah, and they're shooting the truck up. I mean, why would they shoot the truck up like that? There's no threat. They just executed Lavoy, and then they start sending rounds into the truck with passengers inside, 2 females and a male.
Okay, I'm actually getting another thing in right now too. Oh, wow, look at this. Somebody just sent me this in too. They said about 5 minutes after they shot him, his arm moves a little bit, so he wasn't dead right away. And they have lasers pointed at him. So you have lasers pointed at an old man on the ground who you've already fatally wounded. I mean, he's dying, with each second that passes. And there's lasers still pointing at him as if he's dangerous.
They let him die.
This is the sad state of affairs that we live in America, guys. This is where we live. There is no such thing as negotiations. I'm going to let you know that now. When you're dealing with the federal government, there is no such thing as negotiations. Those are completely off the table. I am, Brandon, I knew that you knew Lavoy personally, and that you had the chance to spend some time with him. So, I just want to tell you, coming from somebody who just lost a friend within this last year at the hands of law enforcement, rest in peace, Philip White, and justice for Philip White. I want to tell you, from somebody that just lost somebody, I'm sorry that you had to see this, and I'm sorry you had to see it live on air. This is, this is like so many police shootings, sadly enough, so many police shootings that are happening in the United States where law enforcement, they do not care about you. It's not about neutralizing the threat. It's all about power and control. That's all it's about. These people, their emotions are through the roof. And yet you have to think about this. These cops, these federal officers, they get their marching orders, and then they all turn on the TV and they watch the twisted narrative of the mainstream media. Then they go out and they do their jobs. Well, if you listen to the twisted narrative of the mainstream media, you would think that all of these guys had a bunch of guns, that they're running around Rambo style, shooting everything up and making car bombs. Which is not true. They've been reaching out to public officials. They've been doing press conferences. They've been holding rallies. And they've been peaceful the whole time in doing so. That many people in one location with that many guns, and there was not one single shot fired.
No.
This is what we're talking about. This is what we're looking at now. And, I'm getting tired. I have to address this. I'm getting so tired of people not seeing what this is really about. I don't care whether those are crisis actors up there at the refuge that are left behind now, and that this is some big psyop. I don't care about any of that, and that's going to keep us, looking down the rabbit hole, if you will. What I do care about is, are we going to do something about the federal government being wrong? Not about whether David Fry was wrong or, anybody else, really. What are we going to do about the main purveyors of this evil? Is anybody, everybody gets tough when it comes to being on YouTube and Facebook. They get tough with one another with their comments. But when it comes time to get tough with your federal government, what do? I see people doing the same things that they've been doing all their lives. They go to work and they pay their taxes and they shut up.
Yeah.
And I want to know, is that ever going to end? Because if it's not going to end, Lavoy Finicum will keep happening. And I have to say this, Brandon, I'm going to go off into my little thing a little bit. And, I know this is your segment of your show and your time with us, and I appreciate that. But I have to say something. This is what I keep telling people. While we're in the streets arguing about black, arguing about white, I keep telling people we're arguing about race. They're not arguing with us about race. They only divided us that way so they can control us easier. At the end of the day, they're worried about class. if you don't make a certain amount of money, you're not in their club. If you don't have a certain amount of affluence and control, you're not in their club. That's 99% of us. We are not in their club. And that's what this is about. So since we're not in their club and they've excluded us from their club, maybe we should make our own club. Maybe we have our own club, and it's called America, American Citizens. And if we stand together, our voice is so much more powerful than theirs. But we decide that we want to adhere to black and white. We want to take a white piece of paper, put some black letters on it, and that will rule and govern your life. When we don't ever focus on the God-given rights that we have anymore, there's a problem, and we need to address it, and we need to stop fighting about the black and white issues. It is not about the black and white issues. And for my white listeners that are listening to me out there, for those of you that have said, don't support Black Lives Matter, and how dare you make all rights matter, this is the day that I told you would come. This is the day that I told you would come, where the killings of American citizens that are white would start to resemble the ones that we've been seeing all along that have been black. Why? Because the federal government does not care if you were white or black. And the issue that Black Lives Matter people have is not with white people. It's with the federal government. It's with the state government, the local governments, the law enforcement. Their matter of attack is correct. And the people that are in Burns, Oregon, that are at the refuge, their direction of attack is also correct. It's with the federal government. So when are we going to stop demonizing the different groups and nitpicking at little things within these little groups, and then finally get to a point where we say, you know what? They have a legitimate cause. They have a legitimate cause. They have a legitimate cause. Maybe it's not my own cause, but it's a legitimate cause. And because it's legitimate and all rights matter, I can get with that. When are we going to get there? Because if we don't get there, and we don't get there soon, go kiss your son, go kiss your daughter, and tell them America is no more. I'm sorry, Brandon.
No, man, it was well said. That plays into, exactly what we were talking about earlier with all the finger pointing and name calling and blaming game,
Sick of it.
It gets old, man, and again, like you said, it's time to get up. It's time to be a part of something. It's time to make a change. If you weren't here when we put a call to action out, you have no right to have an opinion and blame anyone for the death of anyone. Because if anything, look at yourself in the mirror and ask, why wasn't I there? And there's people that couldn't make it here, and that's okay, but they were helping in other ways. But for those that just want to point fingers, we put a call out to action. We asked you to come. We asked for help. Where were you?
That's right. That's right. Well, listen, Brandon, I'm going to tell you what, man. On that note, we're going to go. We're going to go. Our viewers, our listeners have a lot to think about. And they've been thinking about a lot, and I just appreciate them. We're receiving such great feedback from the anonymous community. Thank you for all the anonymous sects that are out there that are listening to us and supporting us. I have received some of your messages on my YouTube, and and some of you guys have our backs, man. You guys are awesome. So we thank our anonymous family and supporters across this whole globe, and We thank all the listeners of Anon Radio Live. We thank everyone from the Idaho 3%ers, the Oath Keepers, and anyone that's a part of the Pacific Patriots Network that's standing up for their rights. That's all that we care about is rights. And that's all that we care about here on the All Rights Matter show is your rights. So with that being said, Brandon, I'd like for you to go ahead and, give us a little bit of information where the viewers can find out about your organization there, with you being the president of the Idaho 3%ers, and they can also find out about how to donate and and how to answer your call to participate in the things that are going on as far as rallying and standing up towards the federal government in Burns.
If it's okay, I'd just like to skip that, Sherrod, and I just want to use this moment to just, rest in peace. Rest in peace, Lavoy. We love you, brother. He's a true patriot. And, we're just calling for people to come. His death can't be in vain.
Absolutely.
And we need to give him peace for what he was here to fight for. And we need to continue doing that. So I just want to say rest in peace, brother.
Absolutely. I tell you what, you're absolutely right. That's all I can say, and there's no other way to really even say it. His death shouldn't be in vain, and if we're gonna put out the video on my channel, here very shortly. You guys can see the video for yourself, and you tell me whether you think that that's righteous. This nonsense has to stop. People can be detained. We don't have to use lethal force to kill everyone. Why have we become killing machines? I want my listeners out there to think about that. Why are we killing so many people? Guys, make sure you tune in to Anon Radio Live. Make sure you also download the app, guys. Download the app. Go to my YouTube and go in the description section below the video. Make sure you download the app. You'll get a push notification. We're starting our push notification system up the 1st of February. Anybody that has the app, when we go live with folks that have been so gracious with us, like Brandon Curtis, we don't schedule that. We go live and we give you what we have right away as it's happening. So the only way to get that update out and to beat these algorithms from Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, Instagram, and all the other ones is to download our app and to receive the push notifications so you don't miss out on things as they're occurring and as they're happening without a mainstream media spin on it. So we thank you guys. Brandon, we thank you for being here. Rest in peace to Lavoy, and we send many prayers and support to Lavoy's family, and also to the other, we send our prayers and support also to the Hammond family, and also, to anybody that's been affected by the wrongdoings of the federal government. So, we back you. We're behind you 100%. Our prayers are there with you, Brandon, and we'll bring you back on, and we'll be talking about more issues as they unfold.
Thanks, brother. I appreciate it.
Okay, thank you. And you guys and girls out there, you have a good night. Stay alert, stay alive.